So we'll continue our discussion from a few weeks back. If you remember, we were discussing about nozzles. Okay, and for nozzles, we were discussing about 1D isentropic compressible flows. Okay, so let me just quickly revisit a few things so that we can continue. So for 1D isentropic flow, I hope you can see the screen. Can somebody confirm?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So a few of the things that we had discussed were stagnation properties. So you will remember stagnation properties. For example, stagnation enthalpy H0 is equal to H plus V square by 2. Similarly, stagnation temperature T0 is T plus V square by 2 Cp. And stagnation pressure can be obtained using isentropic relation with respect to temperature, if you know the stagnation temperature. And density can also be obtained. And then we have obtained a relation for speed of sound. Okay, there are two equations. I will not go through the derivation. So one equation was c square, where c is the speed of sound, is equal to del p del rho for an isentropic process with constant entropy S. Okay, so del p del rho for constant entropy S. So this equation is valid for any compressible material. Okay, this equation is valid for any compressible material because we did not take any assumption regarding the nature of material for obtaining this equation. C is equal to root over del p del rho S. Now, if the material is ideal gas, then we can simplify this equation and we had obtained another equation where C is equal to root over gamma RT, where gamma is the ratio of the specific heats. Ratio of the specific heats, and R is is the gas constant, T is the temperature. This is a familiar relation for us for speed of sound. Okay, for gases we use this relation root over gamma RT. And then we are trying to find how the flow velocity varies with area. Okay, and we did some calculations and we obtained a relation like this: dA by A is equal to minus dV by V. Can you hear me? Connection got dropped off. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. We'll continue. Okay, so this relation meant that if the Mach number is less than 1, with decreasing area, the velocity increases, which is our common knowledge. Like for example, we have a conical shape like this. Area is decreasing. If the velocity, if there is a flow coming in from the left hand side, its velocity will increase because the area is decreasing. Okay. However, if the Mach number is greater than 1, then counterintuitively, with decreasing area, the velocity will actually decrease. To increase the velocity, you need to increase the area. This is very counterintuitive. This we do not expect, because in our day-to-day lives we do not see anything like that. We just see that whenever the area decreases, velocity increases. We have developed our intuition that velocity will always increase when the area decreases. But actually for supersonic flow, if that is when the Mach number is greater than 1, the exactly opposite thing occurs. If the area decreases, the velocity decreases. If the area increases, the velocity increases. Okay. So to go from subsonic to supersonic, we need a convergent divergent device, which is known as a convergent divergent nozzle or a CD nozzle. Okay. So what happens is that flow comes in at subsonic velocity, then it is accelerated up to sonic velocity at the throat. Throat is the section where the area is minimum. So there we have sonic velocity. Then in the diverging portion, the flow becomes supersonic. As a result, with increasing area, the velocity further increases. So ultimately we get supersonic velocity at the other end of the device. So this is known as a convergent divergent nozzle, and this type of nozzles are required to accelerate the flow from a subsonic to a supersonic velocity. All this we have studied. Okay, and the maximum flow rate in any of these nozzles, this convergent nozzle or a convergent divergent nozzle, is governed by the area of the throat. So when the maximum flow rate is reached, we reach a condition which is known as choking, or the flow is choked. Okay, this happens when the velocity reaches sonic velocity at the throat. So after this velocity reaches sonic velocity at the throat, you cannot further increase the velocity at the throat. That is the maximum velocity that can be obtained. However force you give from the other side does not matter. You can give very high pressure from the other side. It will not matter. The maximum velocity that will be reached will be sonic velocity here. If I give 10 megapascal pressure or 100 megapascal pressure from the other side, still it will not matter. So we cannot keep on increasing the flow rate even by increasing the pressure indefinitely. Okay, the flow rate will be fixed by the sonic velocity at the throat, and it will govern what is the maximum flow rate depending on the area, the speed of sound, area and the speed of sound basically. So this condition is known as choked condition. Okay, so up to this we have studied, and then we have studied, again you may not remember, so variation of properties with Mach number. Okay, so Mach number is a very important criteria in steam nozzles. We are studying all this because we are studying about steam nozzles, because steam nozzles are an important part of steam turbines, and then that becomes an important part of power plant engineering. That's why we are studying all this. Okay, so with variation of Mach number, the properties will change, right? So how will they change? For a 1D isentropic flow, the stagnation properties do not change. I hope this is clear to all of you. We had already discussed this. So the stagnation temperature will not change. Okay, so T0 remains constant. What is T0? So if at the inlet we know what is the temperature, static temperature and velocity, we can find out what is the stagnation temperature. It is equal to T plus V square by 2Cp. Okay. So if you know the stagnation temperature will remain constant over the entire length of the nozzle. Okay, over the entire length of the nozzle, stagnation temperature will remain constant. Stagnation pressure and stagnation density, everything will remain constant. Stagnation properties will remain constant from one side of the nozzle to the other side, but the static temperature, pressure, density, all this will change. Okay, and we want to find out how these things will change, how the temperature, pressure and density will change with different Mach numbers. Mach number is a representation of velocity. So with different Mach numbers, how these things will change. That is what we want to know. So we had derived, again this is done in the previous class itself, but I have to go through this. So T0 by T is equal to 1 plus V square by 2 CPT. Okay, just from this relation of stagnation temperature, and assuming Cp is equal to, not assuming, means Cp is equal to gamma R by gamma minus 1. Okay, it can be easily derived because Cp by Cv is equal to gamma and Cp minus Cv is equal to R. Okay, Cp by Cv is equal to gamma, Cp minus Cv is equal to R. So based on these two relations, we can derive that Cp is equal to gamma R by gamma minus 1. And velocity C square, means speed of sound, C square is equal to gamma RT, and Mach number M is equal to V by C. Okay, so using these relations, we had obtained in the previous class T0 by T is equal to 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 M square. This is a very famous relation, very useful relation, and is used in many places. Okay, so if you know the stagnation temperature anywhere T0, you can find the static temperature based on the Mach number, or if you know the stagnation and static temperature, you can find out the speed, the Mach number at that location using this relation. So T0 by T is equal to 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 M square. If Mach number equal to 0, means if the flow velocity is 0, this term goes to 0. So T0 by T is equal to 1, or T0 is equal to T, or static temperature is equal to stagnation temperature. Okay. The special case is when Mach number is equal to 1, when we reach sonic velocity. At that point, the temperature is known as critical temperature, T star. Okay, and the relation between stagnation temperature and critical temperature T star can be obtained as 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 into 1 square. Okay. So 1 square, if you do the calculation, it will lead to T0 by T star is equal to gamma plus 1 by 2. Okay. I think we have also derived this towards the end. We will come to that. So once you know what is T0 by T, we can find out what is P0 by P using the isentropic relation. P0 by P is equal to T0 by T to the power gamma by gamma minus 1. And similarly, you can derive rho 0 by rho, which is T0 by T to the power 1 by gamma minus 1. Okay. So based on the temperature ratio, you can derive the pressure ratio and the density ratio. So based on the Mach number, now we will be able to derive the temperature, pressure and density at any location if we know what is the Mach number at that location. But we need to know what is the stagnation temperature, pressure and density, and this remains constant. The stagnation, as the stagnation temperature, pressure and density remain constant for 1D isentropic flow at any location, static properties T, P and rho can be obtained using equation 1, 2 and 3 if the Mach number is known. Okay. As I was saying, for Mach number equal to 1, properties are called as critical properties and the ratios are called critical ratios. So T star by T0 is 2 by gamma plus 1. You can easily find out by putting m equal to 1 in this equation. Okay. T star by T0 will be 2 by gamma plus 1. Similarly, P star by P0 is equal to 2 by gamma plus 1 whole to the power gamma by gamma minus 1 from this relation. Okay. And rho star by rho 0 is equal to 2 by gamma plus 1 whole to the power 1 by gamma minus 1. So this gives us the, at the sonic condition, what will be the temperature, pressure and density. Okay, if we know the stagnation properties, and these are fixed for a particular gas with a certain gamma value, these are fixed and this only depends on the gamma value and nothing else. Okay, so whatever is the pressure outside, means stagnation pressure, it will depend on the stagnation properties obviously, but whatever other conditions are there, it will not depend on that. Okay, ultimately the properties only depend on the, or the ratio of the properties only depend on the gamma value. Up to this point we had discussed in the previous class. We will continue from here. Any questions? No questions. I think you have to read again to actually try to understand this more clearly. Okay. So for flow through nozzles, we are interested to know a few things. Okay. So what is the maximum flow rate, mass flow rate that can occur through a nozzle? Okay. So nozzle we are going to treat as a 1D isentropic flow, as we have discussed. That's why we are studying 1D isentropic flow. Otherwise, why will we discuss, or why will we study 1D isentropic flow? Because we are interested in nozzles, and in nozzles the main variation of flow occurs. If I go back to nozzles here, let me just keep nozzles open. So the main variation of flow occurs in this direction, in the direction in which the flow occurs. Okay, we will ignore any variation of properties in the cross-sectional direction, means in the direction of the radius. All the variation we will just assume to occur along the flow direction, flow axis. Okay, so that's why it is called as a 1D flow, and isentropic because we are ignoring any frictional losses or anything like that. So it's an isentropic flow. We want to know what is the maximum mass flow rate that is possible through a given nozzle. Okay. So let us try to derive an expression with certain assumptions. Okay. So mass flow rate m dot is equal to rho AV, which is valid, obviously valid for any cross section. Very standard equation. Density into area into velocity. Okay. So now density can be written as P by RT. Density can be written as P by RT. Area, let us keep as area itself. And V can be written as, V is the velocity, is Mach number into speed of sound. Okay. Because V by speed of sound is Mach number, V is equal to Mach number into speed of sound. So M into root over gamma RT. Okay. By rearranging, we can write m dot is equal to PAM root over gamma by RT by taking this RT within this square root. So PAM root over gamma by RT. I hope you can still hear me and see the screen. Can you please confirm?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The notes are already shared. Okay, all the notes are shared till the end of the course. You will see that lot of syllabus is actually left. So we have to take a few extra classes. Anyway, around 50 pages are still left to be discussed. Well, much of the some of the pages are like have problems, so we will go through 4 or 5 problems also. So in that sense, the coursework or the course load is not so high because we will go through a few problems, but still quite a bit of syllabus is left. Anyway, m dot is equal to Pam root over gamma by RT. Now we have already derived the relation T0 by T is equal to 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 m square. This is valid for any isentropic flow. Okay, any 1D isentropic flow. T0 by T is equal to 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 m square. And P0 by P is equal to T0 by T to the power gamma by gamma minus 1. Again valid for any isentropic flow. Okay, it's an isentropic relation basically. So in the equation 1, okay, we can first replace this P in terms of P0 and T0 by T to the power gamma by gamma minus 1. Okay, this P we can replace using this relation, second relation, pressure relation. If we do that, you will find that m dot is equal to Am P0. So this P can be written as P0 T by T0 to the power gamma by gamma minus 1. And the other term remains root over gamma by RT still remains. Now we can replace the second, we can replace all the T terms. Okay, all the T terms using the relation T0 by T is equal to 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 m square. Okay, I am not reading it because it's cumbersome to read, but it's a very simple calculation, algebraic calculation. You just have to replace the T in terms of T0 and 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 m square. Okay, what we have essentially done is we have replaced the P and T in terms of the stagnation property P0 and T0. Why we have done so? Because stagnation properties remain constant. And we can know the stagnation property from the inlet property. Inlet conditions are known to us. So if the inlet condition, inlet velocity, temperature are known to us, we can calculate the inlet pressure and temperature. So stagnation property, sorry, inlet stagnation, temperature and pressure we can calculate. So inlet properties will be known to us. So we are trying to write this m dot in terms of stagnation properties, which will be known to us. Okay. So by some algebraic calculation, you can write this expression m dot is equal to Am P0 root over gamma by RT0 into root over 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 m square divided by 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 m square whole to the power gamma by gamma minus 1. It looks complicated, but actually it's just one step, just replacing the value. Okay. And by rearranging, we can get this expression that you are seeing. M dot is equal to Am P0 root over gamma by RT0 1 divided by 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 m square gamma plus 1 by 2 gamma minus 1. Okay, just rearranging this square root and putting it together with the denominator. Okay, so m dot is a function of area at any location. So this is still valid for any cross section. So at any cross section, the area of the cross section, the Mach number at that point, and the stagnation property P0 T0. Remember, P0 and T0 does not vary with length. So they are same wherever you take the cross section. Only thing that is changing is the area and the Mach number at different cross sections. Okay, and the mass flow rate is a function of that. Now, assuming a fixed stagnation property and for a given flow area, okay, for a given flow area, for a given nozzle, basically, and given properties, given inlet condition and given nozzle, the maximum mass flow rate will occur will depend on the Mach number. Okay, and to find the maximum mass flow rate, we can take a derivative of the mass flow rate with respect to the Mach number to find out where the maximum flow rate mass flow rate occurs. And if you take a derivative and equate it to 0, you will find that this big expression. So if you take a derivative of this big expression with respect to m, okay, Mach number m, and equate it to 0, you will find that m is equal to 1. Okay, it means that Mach number equal to 1, or for these constants, okay, that given nozzle and given pressure and temperature, the mass flow rate is maximum if Mach number is 1. So what does it mean? What does it mean Mach number is 1? Okay. So where will the Mach number be 1? So the Mach number can only be 1 at only a single location, that is the throat. It cannot be 1 at any other location. Okay. So it means that the flow rate is maximum when the Mach number reaches 1 at the throat. Okay. This is understandable also because the maximum flow rate that can occur here is that Mach number can become 1 at the throat. Mach number cannot exceed 1, or this velocity cannot exceed sonic velocity at the throat. And that is what we are obtaining, that when the velocity is maximum at the throat, we get the maximum mass flow rate. Okay. If the velocity is less than sonic velocity or the Mach number is less than 1 at the throat, the mass flow rate is less. And once it reaches Mach number 1 at the throat, we reach the maximum flow rate, and then we cannot increase the flow rate any further. Okay. We will discuss all this in detail. I have some diagrams also through which we will go. But basically it means that, say you have a converging diverging nozzle like this, and initially you do not have any flow across the nozzle. Okay. So initially on both sides you have the same pressure. Okay. On one side, say you have 1 atmospheric pressure, on the other side also you have 1 atmospheric pressure. Now you decrease the pressure on the downstream side. On the right side you decrease the pressure slightly. So what will happen, because of pressure gradient from the left hand side to the right hand side, there will be some flow across this convergent divergent device. Okay. So what will happen in the convergent section, the velocity will gradually increase. Okay, because the area is decreasing, and it will reach some velocity, say it reaches Mach number equal to 0.1, some subsonic velocity. Okay. So now in the divergent section, because the velocity is still subsonic, 0.1 only, divergent section will act like a diffuser. It will not act like a nozzle. Velocity still remains subsonic. So again velocity will go down. Okay. Again the velocity will go down, and again the velocity towards the end will become much less as compared to whatever was the velocity at the throat section. So again it may be 0.01 or something like that Mach number. Okay. This will keep on happening, and if we keep on reducing the pressure, still the same thing will happen. So ultimately, if I reduce the pressure on the downstream side to a lower value, the flow velocity will increase. So it will increase, and then it will reach a higher value at the throat. Say it reaches Mach number 0.5. Again the velocity will decrease because the downstream side acts like a diffuser, and again the velocity will reach a lower value at the end. Okay. If we keep on decreasing the pressure, ultimately we will reach a condition, we will reach a situation when the velocity becomes so high that you reach sonic velocity at the throat. Mach number becomes equal to 1 at the throat. At that point what happens? The velocity does not decrease further in the diverging section, but the velocity keeps on increasing in the divergent section. Okay. And it acts like a nozzle in the divergent section also, and the velocity keeps on increasing, and ultimately we get supersonic flow from the other side. Okay. We will discuss this in much more detail in a few minutes in today's class itself. Yes.
Sir, if we are already getting a supersonic flow at the like after Mach number greater than 1, and we have area also high, then why are we getting here m equals to 1 when we think for the maximum mass flow rate?
This equation you are saying means why we are getting m equal to 1?
Like sir, for example, if you consider this nozzle with the case you said ki on the right side, ki we'll get a Mach number greater than 1 on the right
Correct.
side. So, on right side we have a greater area, and also we have a greater Mach number. So
yes, but the flow rate is not higher. The maximum flow rate will still be obtained when m is equal to 1 at the throat. Okay, although here the Mach number is very large. Okay, what is the equation for flow rate? Rho A into V. Okay, so V will be very large here on the right hand side. Okay, because it is supersonic. Area is also larger, but the density,
but then rho would be very less.
Rho will be very less. That is why actually this counterintuitive thing, you have actually asked a question which has a deep meaning. Means what happens in this supersonic flow is this: the density decreases so rapidly, okay, that it actually overcomes the increase in velocity due to decrease in, basically what we intuitively understand, that whenever there is a decrease in area, velocity should increase. Okay, Why this intuition have developed for us? Because we assume that density does not change much. Okay, density remains almost constant. So if area decreases, velocity increases. This is what our intuition tells us. But for supersonic flow, what happens is that the density decreases so rapidly, or density changes so rapidly, that the normal relation between area and velocity does not hold true. Density becomes the prominent or the dominant factor. Okay. So what happens in this case is the density will decrease so rapidly that the velocity and area will increase. Means with increasing area, still the velocity will increase. Okay. But till the relation that when we get the maximum flow rate will occur only when the Mach number is 1, and that occurs at the throat. Okay. So it is actually a convoluted, as a pertinent question. This is a convoluted way of finding that the maximum flow rate occurs when the maximum flow rate occurs. Okay. This is not a, you can say this is not a very smooth way of getting the solution that flow rate is maximum at Mach number equal to 1. But this is one way to show it. That's why we are showing it like this. But otherwise, you can just assume that Mach number, when the flow rate will be maximum when the flow is choked, and the flow will become choked when the Mach number becomes equal to 1 at the throat section. That is the maximum flow rate that can occur. So velocity can keep on increasing, but the flow rate, mass flow rate, okay, that will not increase. Okay, velocity will keep on increasing, mass flow rate will remain constant. Mass flow rate does not change along the length of the domain. Okay, so what I am saying, the change in mass flow rate, that is when the condition itself is changing for the nozzle. Once you establish a condition for the nozzle, everywhere the mass flow rate is same. Okay, at the inlet also the mass flow rate is same. Everywhere it is same. Is it clear to you what I am trying to say?
Yes.
Or okay, good. This is yes, this every year this creates confusion among the students. This is a roundabout way of finding that when the maximum mass flow rate occurs. Okay, this is not a very nice way, but this is the only option that is available to show mathematically. Otherwise, you have to intuitively assume that maximum flow rate will occur when the nozzle gets choked, and from intuition we know that flow cannot increase after that. The mass flow rate cannot increase after that. Then you don't need this derivation. Okay. So anyway. So only location where Mach number is equal to 1 is the throat, and it means that mass flow rate through a nozzle is maximum when m is equal to 1 at the throat. Okay. So throat area generally we write as A star. Okay, throat area we generally write as A star because it is the region where the velocity of speed speed of sound is 1. Sorry, it is the region where the velocity is equal to speed of sound. Okay. Please switch off your mic. Somebody's mic is on. His mic is on. So this A star is the throat area. Okay, it's very important property. So we can write now the maximum mass flow rate to be, if you replace in this equation Mach number equal to 1 and A is equal to A star, you will get this relation. Okay, m dot max is equal to A star P0 root over gamma by RT0 multiplied by 2 by gamma plus 1 whole to the power gamma plus 1 by 2 gamma minus 1. Okay, it's just you have to just replace this m equal to 1 in this expression and A is equal to A star. Okay, and you will get this relation. So this is the maximum mass flow rate possible, and this depends on the inlet stagnation condition P0 and T0. If the inlet stagnation pressure is higher, then we will get more mass flow rate, and it will depend on the area of the throat. Okay, and this is valid for any given ideal gas because we have used the ideal gas expression. Okay, so this is not valid for any material, it is only valid for ideal gas. Now we will finish this section. Okay, I will. Yes. Yes. Questions. I am hearing feedback from somebody's mic. Anyway, so assuming choked condition, okay, we can find a relation between the flow area and Mach number. So what we are trying to find is, say the condition is choked. Okay, so the Mach number is varying from less than 1 to up to 1 at the throat and greater than 1 in the supersonic region. Okay, So in the converging region, the Mach number is increasing from 0 to 1, and then in the divergent region, it is increasing from 1 to larger value. So at any position, what will be the cross-sectional area if we know what is the Mach number? That is what we want to find. Why we want to find this? Because this gives us the design of the nozzle. Okay. So if we know, we will know like we have to design the variation of area of the nozzle. Okay, how the area of the nozzle changes with length. Okay. So if we know the variation of Mach number, which we can assume how the Mach number varies based on the properties, we can find out how the area should vary within, so across the length of the nozzle. Okay. So with respect to the throat area, we can find out the area at any location based on the Mach number, and that is what we are trying to find. Again, it looks like a very elaborate algebraic calculation, but actually it's a very simple calculation, just 1 or 2 lines. Okay. So we have already derived. I will keep this open so that you get the confidence that actually the calculation is very simple. M dot is equal to AMP0 root over gamma by RT0, entire thing divided by 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 m square whole to the power gamma plus 1 by 2 gamma minus 1. The same thing which is written here as equation 1. Okay. So M dot is equal to this expression. Also we have derived M dot is equal to A star P0 root over gamma by RT0 2 by gamma plus 1 whole to the power gamma plus 1 by 2 gamma minus 1. Okay. This also we have derived. So this is equation 2. So both the equations are known to us. Okay. So from 1 and 2, you can divide 1 by 2. Okay, and you will get A star by A star is equal to 1 by m. Then within bracket 2 by gamma plus 1, 1 plus gamma minus 1 by 2 m square whole to the power gamma plus 1 by 2 gamma minus 1. Just by dividing one equation by the other equation, you will get this relation. Okay. What this relation tells us, so it's nothing, it's not a derivation also, it's just one line. But what it tells us is that this is a quadratic expression of m square, like m. Okay. So there are two possible values of m for each possible value of A by A star. Okay. So what it tells us is that for any area A star is fixed. A star is the throat area. So for any area A can occur at two possible values of n. Okay. One is for the subsonic region where m is less than 1, and one is for the supersonic region where m is greater than 1. Okay. So for example, if you consider this converging diverging nozzle, okay, and we want to find out at what location the area is equal to 2 times the throat area. Throat will be minimum always. Okay. So where is the area? 2 times the throat area. So one area will occur here, 2 times the throat area will occur here. You can see from the diagram. At some position the area will be twice the throat area, and like 2 times the throat area will occur on the downstream side. Somewhere along the downstream side, again the area will be twice the throat area. Visually it can be easily said, right? So the area will be twice somewhere around here and somewhere around here. So there are two positions where we can get the same area. One will be corresponding to subsonic region, Mach number less than 1, and one will be corresponding to supersonic region. So for any area we will have two Mach numbers, and we can find out how the Mach number varies with different areas, so that we can design a nozzle based on this expression. Okay. So we will not go into further details here because things are getting complicated. So we will stop with the relation between the properties and areas for nozzles, or with compressible calculations up to this point only. Okay, any questions up to this point? Is this clear to you? Why we get two cross-sectional areas corresponding to? Two Mach numbers corresponding to each cross-sectional area. Mathematically also we are getting like this, and theoretically also we can see that we can have the same area in the subsonic region as well as in the supersonic region, although the Mach number will be different in the two regions. Okay, and that is what we are obtaining here. Please go through this section in more depth, not in more depth, just go through the notes. Actually, it's not difficult. It is all of them are connected together. It looks complicated because of the length of the expressions. So now we will try to understand whatever we have discussed from a intuitive or physical point of view instead of trying to go through the equations. Okay, what we have discussed till now. And we will try to understand for the converging nozzle as well as for the convergent divergent nozzle. Okay, because both type of nozzles can be used. So we will try to understand for a convergent nozzle first, and then for a convergent divergent nozzle what happens. Any questions up to this point?
No, sir.
Okay. So same thing, okay, whatever I have shown here, but without going into the maths, let us try to understand what happens. Okay, say we have a convergent nozzle as shown here. One side has a very large cross-sectional area, and the cross-sectional area decreases along the flow direction, and the other side has a very small cross-sectional area. So here we will call the smallest cross-sectional area as the throat section, right? Smallest cross-sectional area will be the throat section. Now the large side is connected to a reservoir. What is a reservoir? It is a large tank such that if there is any flow from the reservoir, the properties in the reservoir does not change. That is the definition of a reservoir. A reservoir is a very large tank, so that even if there is flow from the reservoir, if we are removing some gas or liquid or something from the reservoir, material from the reservoir, still the properties in the reservoir are not affected because it is such a large domain. Okay, so this upstream side of the nozzle is connected to a reservoir, and the velocity is almost equal to zero. It cannot be totally zero, then there cannot be any flow, but it is very negligible. Okay, so it is approximately it is equal to zero. You can say it cannot be totally equal to zero. If it is totally equal to zero, there cannot be any flow in the nozzle. So it has to be some small velocity, but very small velocity. Okay, in that case, the pressure and temperature of the reservoir, if it is PR and TR, then the stagnation condition at the inlet will also become equal to PR and TR. So stagnation temperature T0 is equal to TR plus V square by 2Cp. Okay, and V is equal to 0 at the inlet, almost equal to 0. So T0 is equal to TR. Okay, so stagnation temperature is known at the inlet. And if the stagnation temperature is equal to the static temperature at the inlet, then stagnation pressure is also equal to the static pressure at the inlet. So stagnation pressure and temperature are known at the inlet. Okay, say it is equal to 1 atmosphere. I'm just putting some value, 1 atmospheric pressure. Okay, at the inlet. Now at the outlet, we are providing a pressure. Okay, let this be called as back pressure PB. Okay, I will come to what is P later on, but let the pressure, we are applying a pressure PB, which is known as back pressure at the outlet. Okay. Now initially what we are doing, we are providing a back pressure equal to 1 atmospheric pressure, which is equal to the stagnation pressure on the other side. Okay. So our first condition is that we are providing the back pressure equal to the stagnation pressure P0. Okay, so PB is equal to P0. This is condition A. So what will happen in that case? Inlet also pressure is 1 atmospheric pressure. Outlet also pressure is 1 atmospheric pressure. So there is no pressure difference across the nozzle. So what will be the flow rate through the nozzle?
So it will be 0.
It will be 0. There is no flow through the nozzle because there is no pressure gradient. Okay, there is no driving force for the flow. So flow rate is 0. No velocity. Okay, everywhere velocity is almost equal to 0 or 0 itself. Okay, so the pressure will look like this: P by P0. If I plot the non-dimensional pressure, P by P0. So initially P by P0 is equal to 1 because P is equal to P0, and it does not decrease anywhere in the nozzle. So it remains equal to, pressure remains equal to P0. So P by P0 remains equal to 1, and at the exit it remains equal to 1 because PB is equal to P0. Back pressure is equal to P0. Okay. Now I decrease the pressure, back pressure, by a small amount. So instead of 1 atmospheric pressure, I make it 0.9 atmospheric pressure. What will happen? In that case, how will the pressure and velocity vary within the nozzle? if I make the back pressure equal to 0.9 atmospheric instead of 1 atmospheric pressure. It's already drawn, but I am just still want to hear from you. What will happen to the pressure and velocity within the nozzle?
The velocity will increase along the length.
Velocity will increase. There will be some flow that will be established, and velocity will increase along the length of the nozzle. What will happen to the pressure? Pressure will gradually decrease. So initial pressure will be still P0. So P by P0 will be 1, and gradually it will keep on decreasing. It is shown by the line B. Okay, it is shown by the line B here. So it will keep on decreasing. Ultimately, it will reach the back pressure that we are providing. Okay, PB is some pressure which is greater than the critical pressure, but less than P0. Okay, I have put some value 0.9 atmospheric pressure. It can be 0.8 atmospheric pressure also. Some back pressure we are providing, and we will reach the back pressure. Okay, so instead of 0.9 atmospheric pressure, if we make the pressure 0.8 atmospheric pressure at the end, what will happen? How will the line look like? Let me.
More steeped, sir. Like
More steep. Okay. So it will become something like this. Okay, drawing is difficult for me with the mouse, but you can assume something like this. Okay, so back pressure, because back pressure is now lower, so it will reach the lower back pressure, 0.8 atmospheric pressure, and the pressure will accordingly adjust within the nozzle, like I have shown by the green line. Okay, and velocity will also increase. So the velocity will increase to a higher value, but it will still not reach the sonic value. When will it reach the sonic value? At the choked condition or the choked condition, when the pressure here is equal to the critical pressure that we have already established. Okay, so velocity is equal to sonic velocity only when the pressure is equal to the critical pressure. Okay, and what is that condition? We have derived that condition. P star by P0 is equal to 2 by gamma plus 1 whole to the power gamma by gamma minus 1. Okay, so if P star by P0 reaches this value, then the condition becomes choked. Okay, and like if P star we can calculate based on P0. If our pressure reaches P star at the back end, then we will reach the choked condition and the nozzle will become choked. Okay, so we can calculate what is the value of P star. So generally it is 0.528 or something like that, depending on the value of gamma. You can easily calculate. Okay, if gamma is 1.4, 2 by 2.4 whole to the power 1.4 by 0.4. You can calculate what is P star by P0. It will be 0.5 something. Okay, so 52% or something like that, 58% or 52%. Exact value I don't remember. But at that point, your nozzle will become choked. Okay, so I keep on decreasing the pressure here, and ultimately I reach a pressure of 0.52 atmospheric pressure. Say it is equal to the sonic pressure. Okay, P star. Okay, 0.52 atmospheric pressure. So at that pressure, what will happen? I will reach this C condition. Okay, the condition shown by the C line. Okay, so my back pressure will become equal to P star. PV will become equal to P star, and the velocity will increase within the nozzle, and it will reach sonic velocity at the throat section. And the pressure will keep on decreasing from P is equal to P0 to P is equal to P star. Up to this point, is there any confusion? Up to this point, it should be very clear what is happening. Okay. Any questions?
no, sir.
Okay. So
No.
this is very clear. Okay. So now, up to this point, we don't have any confusion. So we have reached the sonic pressure and critical pressure and the sonic velocity. Now, if I decrease the pressure further, say instead of 0.52 atmosphere, I make the pressure 0.2 atmosphere, which is lower than the critical pressure. So I make the outside pressure to be 0.2 atmosphere here. Okay. Then what will happen? Can the flow increase in the nozzle? Up till now, whatever we have discussed, based on this discussion, what do you feel? Can the flow increase in the nozzle? if we decrease the pressure
Hmm.
further?
No, sir, it won't increase. It would attain M1 somewhere else, not there. Somewhere else only it would attain Mach
Where
number 1
can
and then.
so based on the shape of the nozzle, can you tell me where can it attain M equal to 1?
Sir, it will attain at the throat only.
It will attain at the throat only because there is no other option. Because if it attains M equal to 1 at some other location, what will happen at the lower cross sectional area, right? So ultimately it will attain M at the throat only. So whatever was the C condition, it will remain as such. So what happens is that, say if I say this D condition, okay, I give a back pressure PV which is less than the critical pressure, say 0.2 atmospheric pressure I am giving, okay. Nozzle is already choked, so it cannot change, so nothing will change within the nozzle. So it will still follow the same pressure. So the variation of pressure will be still same, whatever is given by the C condition, and velocity variation will also be same. So within the nozzle, no change will occur. Okay, even though outside I have decreased the pressure significantly and the pressure difference is much larger, within the nozzle, no change will occur. Okay, so what will happen? Up to the nozzle end, the pressure will remain PV is equal to, like at the end of the nozzle, we will have P is equal to P star. Okay, so we will call this pressure at the exit of the nozzle as PE, exit pressure. Okay, up till now we did not, until now we did not define any exit pressure. Now we will define an exit pressure, which is the pressure at the exit of the nozzle. Okay, so the pressure at the exit of the nozzle will become equal to P star. Okay, and then there will be a sudden jump outside the nozzle, which will form a shock wave, and the pressure will become equal to the back pressure. Okay, so outside the nozzle there will be a sudden jump and the pressure will become equal to the back pressure PV. Okay, so the pressure will look within the nozzle, the pressure will look exactly same, like it will follow this green line, and outside the nozzle there will be a sudden jump and the pressure will decrease to PV. Okay, so exit pressure and back pressure will not remain same after this point. Okay, let us now revisit the previous cases. So when PB is equal to P0, the exit pressure is equal to the back pressure PV. Okay, then when PB is greater than P star but less than P0, then also the exit pressure is equal to back pressure PV. When the nozzle becomes equal to choked, PV is equal to P star, then also the exit pressure is equal to back pressure PV. But if I keep on decreasing the back pressure, the exit pressure will not decrease anymore. The exit pressure will reach the critical pressure, and that is the final pressure that it can reach. So whatever change in pressure that occurs after that has to occur outside the nozzle as a sudden jump, which is known as shock. Okay, there will be a shock and pressure will decrease from the critical pressure to a lower pressure. Okay, so this is written here. P is equal to back pressure. So exit pressure is equal to back pressure if the back pressure is greater than critical pressure, and P is equal to critical pressure. Exit pressure is equal to critical pressure if the back pressure is less than the critical pressure. Okay. So now if the outside is totally vacuum, say I have exposed the outside to total vacuum, no pressure at all on the other side. Okay, which is the most extreme condition. On one side we have 1 atmospheric pressure. On the other side of the nozzle, there is total vacuum. Okay, like say there is a rupture in a space shuttle. So inside you have certain pressure and outside there is total vacuum outside the space shuttle. So what will be the flow rate in that case? Okay, same thing here. So what will happen? Still nothing will happen. No change will happen. Within the nozzle, the same flow rate will be there up to the throat section. And then there will be a sudden jump, and outside there will be a shock wave, and from critical pressure to zero pressure there will be a sudden jump in pressure. Within the nozzle there won't be any change at all. Okay, so the nozzle flow within the nozzle gets fixed once you reach the sonic velocity at the end of the nozzle. After that there cannot be any change within the nozzle. Okay, so once the nozzle is choked, that's it. So you cannot increase the flow rate within the nozzle anyway. Whether you keep on decreasing, even if you go to vacuum outside, then also nothing will change. Okay, so is this clear or is there any confusion? This is very important. Okay, and this is very easy to reach choked condition. Like you can do a very easy, quick home experiment itself to reach choked condition because the pressure ratio is very small, less than twice to reach choked condition. So, for example, when our tire gets punctured of a cycle, okay, cycle tire gets punctured, for a very brief moment we reach choked condition, okay, and then quickly the pressure dissipates and we reach a non-choked condition, but initially it reaches choked condition. Similarly, say if you want to calculate what is the mass flow rate during a leakage in a spacecraft, say International Space Station is there, and suddenly it develops a small leak, okay. So we want to find out what is the flow rate leakage, flow rate of air from the space station. So it can be easily calculated based on the leakage area, means the rupture area, because that will act like a throat section, and based on the throat area you can find out, because it will just be choked flow ultimately. Although outside it is fully vacuum, it does not matter. Ultimately it will be choked flow, and based on the sonic velocity of air and throat area or the leakage area, you can find out what is the mass flow rate of leakage. So it's very easy to calculate in all those conditions. Anyway, we will come back to our nozzles. So for our nozzle also, same thing holds true. Okay. So once the pressure ratio reaches the critical pressure ratio, it does not matter whether you keep on increasing the other side. Say we reach critical pressure ratio. Okay, in this side we have 1 atmospheric pressure, on the other side we have 2 atmospheric pressure. Now if I make the other side pressure as 2000 atmospheric pressure also, it does not matter. Okay, the flow rate within the nozzle will remain same. It seems, or intuitively it seems to us that we are putting so much pressure, like we are putting a piston and putting 2000 atmospheric pressure. It should increase the flow rate because so much pressure I am putting. So flow rate to increase hona hai, but that is not going to happen. Okay, whether you put 2000 atmospheric pressure or 20,000 atmospheric pressure, once flow becomes choked, it becomes choked. You cannot increase the flow rate. It's very interesting phenomena and counterintuitive. Okay, so that is what happens. Okay. So we can plot the mass flow rate also with respect to the pressure ratio, the pressure at, or the back pressure. Okay, so back pressure is the PB which we are applying at the end. PB by P0. In terms of PB by P0, we can plot the mass flow rate. So we'll start from the case A. Okay, this A case. So A case is PB is equal to P0. Okay, so if PB is equal to P0, PB by P0 equal to 1. So this is the point, PB by P0 equal to 1. At that point there is no flow, so mass flow rate is 1. Then if you decrease the pressure, back pressure slightly, PB by P0 is slightly less than 1. So this is the case B. Okay, so in the case B, we have a certain mass flow rate, as you can see, we have a certain mass flow rate. Okay, then if you decrease the PB slightly further, you will increase the mass flow rate. So we will increase the mass flow rate. So PB by P0 will decrease and we will increase the mass flow rate. My drawing is not very accurate, but you have to bear with this. So this will keep on happening until you reach the critical pressure when PB is equal to P star. Okay, this condition C. When you reach this condition C, we reach the maximum mass flow rate. Okay, this is the maximum mass flow rate. After this, if we keep on decreasing PB, lower and lower, does not matter, the mass flow rate will remain fixed and will be equal to the maximum mass flow rate. So up to this point, the mass flow rate was following a curve. So mass flow rate was increasing up to this point. Okay, it was following this path. And once you have reached this choked condition, the mass flow rate cannot increase further. This is the maximum mass flow rate that can occur. Any questions? Is this clear to you? This is quite interesting phenomena that happens, and is quite different from our day-to-day activities. So although we can easily reach choked condition in our day-to-day activity, like a tap can or a pipe can become easily choked in an experiment, and you can also easily do this kind of experiments because the pressure ratio required is very less, but many of the things are counterintuitive. So these things you have to read again and again to develop new intuition. Otherwise, it will always seem strange to you without new intuition. Questions? Still, we have to discuss further the convergent divergent nozzles also. But this convergent nozzle, is there any confusion? Because without understanding this clearly, we cannot understand the next part. There.
No, sir.
Okay. So I am going to take a break here, 5 minutes, to rest my voice. It is not good for me to continuously speak because I have not yet recovered fully. Somehow I am taking these classes, but there is no other option. We are so much lagging behind, and these are so important things that we have to anyway go through this. So I'll take a 5 minutes break and we will continue 1 more hour. Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I am thinking that I will not continue today's class. I am feeling lightheaded and dizzy. So I think I have put too much effort today. And we will meet tomorrow in the normal class timing. Okay. Normal morning 9 o'clock. Because if I continue, it will be too much stress for me. So I will just stop the class. Okay. Take the attendance. And thank you for attending today. I will need to take a few extra classes, unfortunately. So you guys will have to bear with that. We will try to cover up as much as possible, and we will go in details only. We will go through some problems. So Thursday, I have told already, one extra class will be needed, 2 hours. Hopefully, I will be able to take the 2 hours. Today, I was supposed to take 2 hours, but I am feeling very bad now. Totally dizzy and lightheaded. So then maybe one Saturday class also may be required.